Hi! Welcome to this part of my review featuring 5e RPG Academy Adventures. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review featuring this Dungeons & Dragons meets Harry Potter style of setting, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to continue with the Arcane Traditions, starting with the Einberer. Einberers draw on the power of the stars to conjure celestial spirits. Despite their name, the celestial spirits are not good aligned entities and are neutral in the war between mortals, but they can be very loyal to Einberers who treat them well. When it comes to Einberer spells, you learn additional spells when you reach certain levels in this class as shown in a table. Each of these spells counts as a wizard spell for you, but it doesn't count against the number of wizard spells you know. Whenever you gain a wizard level, you can replace one spell you gained from this feature with another spell of the same level. The new spell must be a conjuration spell from the wizard spell list. Let's talk about some of the features of this arcane tradition. We have friendly summons. At second level, by expending twice the number of spell slots of a conjuration spell and a bonus action at the end of your turn for the duration of the conjuration spell, you can cast and maintain concentration on 2 summoned creatures. Additionally, you have advantage on charisma checks to influence conjured creatures. You also have Mighty Summoner. As you level up, celestials that you conjure are more resilient than normal. Any celestial summoned or created by a spell that you cast gains 2 benefits. The creature appears with more hit points than normal, and the damage from its natural weapons is considered magical for the purpose of overcoming immunity and resistance to non-magical attacks and damage. We also have things such as Faithful Summons. At higher levels, the astrologan spirits you commune with protect you when you are the most defenseless. If you are reduced to 0 hit points or are incapacitated against your will, you can immediately gain the benefits of Summon First Astrologan House as if it were cast with a 9th level spell slot. It summons Leon, Piscus or Taurus. It's your choice. The conjured astrologan appears within a certain distance of you. If it receives no commands from you, it protects you from harm and attacks your foes. The conjured being stays for a certain amount of time, requiring no concentration or until you dismiss it. No action required. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. Next we have the Hexa Tradition. Hexes have a long and honored tradition as spellcasters in the Academy, going back to the institution's roots. It is traditional that when a Hexe comes of age, she spends a year seeking her fortune by visiting a village that may need help. Let's talk about some of the features of the tradition. You have Hexes Brew. You are proficient with alchemist supplies, herbalism kits, poisoner kits, and flying vehicles, like the Broom of Flying. You treat Brooms of Flying as controlled mounts. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can magically produce a Hexes Brew in an empty flask you touch. You can create any ingested poison of a certain value of gold pieces per level in this class, which is triggered when someone drinks the brew. You can create additional Hexes Brews by expending a spell slot of first level or higher for each one. When you do so, you use your action to create the brew in an empty flask you touch. Creating a Hexes Brew requires you to have the Poisoner's Kit on your person, and any brew you create with this feature lasts until it is used or until the end of your next long rest. When you reach certain levels in this class, you can make more brews at the end of a long rest. You can even create inhaled poisons in the form of candles. Then we have Hexes Familiar. You learn the Find Familiar spell and can cast it as a ritual. The spell doesn't count against your number of spells known. When you cast the spell, you can choose one of the normal forms for your familiar or one of the following special forms, such as Imp, Pseudo-Dragon, Quasit, Sprite, or any of the familiars listed in this book. If your chosen familiar's intelligence score becomes 10, if lower than 10, it gains the ability to speak one language you know. Additionally, when you take the attack action, you can forego one of your own attacks to allow your familiar to use its reaction to make one attack of its own. At later levels, when your familiar is on your shoulder, you can use an action to regain one expended spell slot. If the expended slot is 4th level or higher, the new slot is 3rd level. You can't use your familiar in this fashion again until you take a long rest. Then we have Flying Ointment. At higher levels, you can use one expenditure of your Hexes brew to create a Flying Ointment instead. It bestows a flight speed equal to 10 feet multiplied by the spell level expended to create it for a number of minutes. This is an interesting feature because the Flying Ointment actually existed, but it was a drug that witches, or rather people mistaken for witches, rubbed on wooden poles, perhaps a broom, and they rubbed it, well, down there, and that's the way that they consumed the drug, because otherwise it would destroy their digestive systems. It was a very potent substance, and that drug altered the states of mind of those women, so that they actually thought that they were flying. Next we have things such as Create Puppet. At a higher level, you can create a doll proxy in the form of a creature. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can magically produce a puppet with alchemist's tools in the shape of a willing target creature. When you do so, you use your action to create the puppet in a doll you touch. You can create a puppet of a creature with a challenge rating or level up to 2 times your level in this class. Thereafter, any spell you cast on the puppet, which is treated as a creature, affects the creature instead, so long as it is on the same plane of existence. Any puppet you create with this feature lasts until you create a new puppet for a different creature, which requires a new doll. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part we are going to continue with these Arcane Traditions. The Einberer and the Hexe are very specialized and unique classes, or rather easy to identify with some occult and folkloric sources. The Einberer feels a lot like a ceremonial magician that deals with entities from beyond, from the celestial vault. So it makes sense that the Einberer has an advantage summoning these sorts of astrologan entities, while the Hexe fits the traditional witch archetype, at least as represented in fiction. You have your flying broom, you have your ability to create these puppets that affect creatures at a distance, and you can even brew magical potions. Thank you for watching this part of the review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-through RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.